Sometimes you feel so alone in the pursuit of a higher purpose. It really strains all of the effort in, putting forth into your conviction. You're so convicted in what it is that you're doing or pursuing or creating. But you feel so isolated by this conviction that it hinders the process a bit. It's not that you lose faith. It's that you feel disconnected, and that is draining for you. My name is Astrid. Welcome. This is The Sacred Gray. I have a message for someone here. So the two cards that I pulled are the Gem and the Womb. Now, I don't usually pay too much attention to like if an oracle card is in its reversal, but this one, it felt very important to note that the Womb is in reversal, or is in her reversal. Now, the notes that I took down in my meditation, I also have two cards here that we will look at together. The words that came to me during my meditation: conflicted, constraint, inner battlefield, torn, and autonomy. You're not losing sight of the gem, right? You're not losing sight of your conviction, of your sense of purpose, or what you're mining for, what you're creating, what you're after, right? Like, that's still there. You haven't lost it. Despite the constraints and the potential, whatever this inner battlefield energy is. I also saw an image of, like, I don't really know how to describe it other than like very dirty metal. And I don't know what kind of resonance that may hold for you, collective, but like dirty metal and coins. I also feel like there's an issue of like housing instability. Like, some of you guys have maybe experienced housing instability in your life. That is also a present energy here. Now, in asking Spirit for a message to come through during my meditation, something with words, I heard turn up the volume and come closer and, bring it tighter, like almost like they want to bring you in for a hug. Now, I feel like there's one particular spirit guide that is reaching out to this collective, and it almost feels as if there is a kind of a complicated relationship with this particular guide. And I feel like it's one of those things that, because it's unseen, it would be difficult for you to articulate it, but you can feel it. There's one spirit guide in particular who I can see them like beckoning towards you, but it feels like they've been doing that for years. It feels like they've been calling you forth for a long time. It could be an ancestor. It doesn't really have to be although the form that I am seeing is masculine with white hair, very angelic. Maybe not white hair, but there's like a kind of a blinding glow about this energy. So this is definitely it has more of like an angelic like / spirit guide feel, but it could very well be an ancestor, right? You just take it however it works for you. It's never one size fits all. We're going to pull from Poesis first. That is where Spirit is directing me. And then we will take a look at these two cards that Spirit had me pull face down. Let's get... Okay, so I have Express here. We're going to put that back and see if it comes out again. Thank you, Spirit. What kind of messages do we have for the collective today? Okay, listen. So Express and Listen both fell out. I put them back, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Hang on. These cards. There's definitely a lot of energy behind this reading. Earth. Okay. Give. And then I heard take. So this could be something about exchange. And with test here, so give and test. Yeah, this is definitely something about what you're exchanging. It's almost as if like the isolation feeling, it's like you have to see the community or the collective around you. See, I'm hearing something about like your immediate environment. See them as being worthy of your service, even though you don't necessarily identify them. Guide to what? Well, spirit guide, right? Guide and practice. Yeah, yes. This is that spirit guide that is trying to connect with you. They have a message for you. They have a message for you. Hang on. Let's see if we can get some of that. I'm going to pull from the tarot to see if we can get something about what this particular spirit guide is attempting to communicate with you at this time, because that's very clear that they want to tell you something, and you might be resisting it in your personal practice, or you might just not feel like it might not feel resonant, but there's still something there for you. Like they're asking you to be, I'm hearing like non-discriminatory. They're asking you to put your judgments or your biases aside here. Okay, so let's see. What kind of message does this guide have for the collective? Okay, 5 of Swords, we'll take that. 5 of Swords, the Tower. The Emperor. Page of Wands. Okay. Okay. So this guide is trying to remind you of your sovereignty, which I think is why it's so uncomfortable for you, collective, because there's been so many events in your life that have been incredibly disempowering. There's been so many moments in your life where, you know, everything about your environment has shown you that you're not worthy, or you're not capable, or you're essentially a loser. Like that's, I mean, like it's brutal, but like that's kind of that's the message that I'm getting. There hasn't been a whole lot of proof of your sovereignty. And so in your personal practice, if you're someone who has a spiritual practice, if you meditate, if you do any kind of yoga or whatever, like it's almost as if you have blinders on. So maybe you felt this spirit reaching out to you, or this guide, this entity, maybe you felt them reaching out to you, but you've had this spirit of skepticism, or uncertainty, or kind of rejection towards that guide's presence in your life, or receiving messaging or guidance from them, because you are channeling a wound of rejection in your spiritual practice without realizing it. Now that part won't be for all of you, but it is possible that you're channeling a wound of rejection into your own spiritual practice, that you can see something beckoning towards you, and you are not, you're resistant to it, right? Like you're not entertaining it, even though, you might be putting it under the guise of like, oh, well, I don't know where it's coming from or whatever. And like, there's just a lack of trust there. So you can create some really convincing reasons as to why you wouldn't interact with a particular guide. Now, the message that I'm receiving here is that there has been overwhelming evidence in your 3D reality that would say to you that you're not worthy, or you're not capable, or you're not of pure heart, that you are, wounded, that, you will never receive, blah, blah, blah. Like, that narrative has been quote unquote proven to you by your circumstances, right? Or perhaps, you've proven it to yourself. these beliefs that you have, right? And that's just human, right? But the thing is that these beliefs were handed to you as a child, and you only had so many tools to help you navigate life with this set of beliefs and programming that you were provided as a child, right? So this guide there are a few things that this guide is highlighting. This is more in your immediate environment, though, and kind of what's going on around you. So I'm going to speak to that. But they're wanting to highlight that the reason you feel as if you'll never catch up, or as if you will never meet the mark, you'll never hit your marks, or you'll never catch up to the rest of the crowd, or you'll never surpass, or you'll never, whatever. The reason you're feeling that way is because you're still thinking that way, if that makes sense. Like, your life is proving that to you right there. And so they're wanting you to change that way of thinking only by way of sitting in a throne of empowerment, not an ego place, which I think maybe you are more accustomed, you're more familiar with the egoic, like, I'm claiming my power, right? It's not that. That's why give and test came out. It's not you sitting in your throne from an egoic place. It is actually you sitting in your throne from a humble place, which is new. So they want you to be really, really kind with yourself about this, right? They want you to be very gentle with yourself in this process of acknowledging that there are, there is programming that just is not, it just is not true. Not only is it like not true, but it was never resonant to the life that you like wanted to live. It was just never, like, I'm hearing that was just never the case, right? And so in taking up your throne, you are being asked to do so in a way that is, I'm hearing kind, gentle, poised, and humility. And so the core of that, again, back to give and test here, it's like the core of that is service, right? The difference between an emperor and a tyrant is what they give and what they take, right? So, and like kind of what their primary motivator is there, right? So if you're sitting in this seat and you're not anchored in that seat from a place of I'm providing, I'm giving, I'm of service, then that's not, that's just not, that's just not going to work. You're going to find yourself in a cycle again. I think that this guide is really highlighting an opportunity for you here to start a cycle that is much more uplifting and resonant and carries the frequency of a life that you truly wish to live. Now, I can see around you, you have some folks who you're not impressed by. And this is a really important key factor here, because it's not that it might come from an ego place sometimes to say like, well, I'm better than these folks. But the fact is that like, that's kind of exactly what it is. Like, you're not impressed by them because they're not impressive, but are you proving to yourself that you are in fact impressive? Are you impressed by yourself? Do you understand that like you are your only competition, right? Because I think that, sorry if you heard that, I think that part of what's going on here is that you are, with the Five of Swords being the first card out, like you are seeing this, you are viewing life through almost a competitive or a kind of a discombobulated lens. Like the Five of Swords is like, there's so many different interpretations for it, but the one that I always come back to is competition, essentially. And the Five of Swords, is justified here in that like you do pick up the pieces that people kind of leave behind. Like you are the person who's cleaning up when everybody else has gotten overwhelmed and kind of left. You are the one who is anchoring into action over emotion, right? Like you're the one who carries with the follow through. And And like, it's okay to not resonate with the people around you, but it's not okay to kind of pull yourself and anchor yourself from a place of ego over that energy. Does this make sense? So like, you want to remember that human conditioning is just that. It's human conditioning. And just because you are ahead or have a greater understanding doesn't make you any better than them. That's what anchors the throne, right? It doesn't make you better. It just makes you larger, right? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. We're going to take a look at these two cards together, okay? So the first one here is the threshold. That makes a lot of sense. And then the sword. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Wow. That makes so much sense. Okay, because it's like you've reached your limit. And this guide is wanting to help you, like, kind of cut out folks that are keeping you in that energy. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Thank you, Spirit. Like this guide is holding space for you whenever you're ready. Like, that's what I'm hearing. Whenever you're ready, you know, it's sometimes you just need that bit of confirmation that it is time to kind of take up your sword and start cutting some threads, right? Start cutting some ties. But this is kind of the biggest part that they don't want you to miss. That's like, your being of service to the people in your life is still what anchors you in the throne, you know? What makes that power sustainable is not what you take, it is what you give. It is not what you're holding on to behind the throne, it is what you are providing from the throne. Yes? That is what anchors permanence in the emperor's seat. Okay? We have explore. So there's an urge to kind of think a little bit more about what these concepts mean to you. How has what is your relationship with power and people in power, right? Which is, you know, this is a timeless reading, but, you know, depending on when you're watching it, and where you're at in the world, I think that we will have very tender examples of kind of jacked up relationship dynamics with power. Right? We have plenty of examples to draw from of how not to use power on a world stage right now, right? So to question, you know, what is your relationship with power? How does it make you feel? Courage. What is your relationship with courage? This card, I've talked about it before in other readings, but like I had to completely rebuild my relationship with courage because I equated courage to battle. I equated courage to fighting. I didn't want to be courageous. I was tired of being courageous, right? But if you soften it, and you know, this may or may not pertain to you, but I have a feeling it does in some way. If you soften it, then, and you know that like all of these things are malleable, right? You create your reality. So like courage, your relationship with courage and the concept of it is totally up to you to kind of like shape and form into what serves you, right? So exploring, having courage to explore, it doesn't have to be a scary thing. You know, that's what Spirit is really saying here, is that kind of stepping out. Yeah, trigger. So like, what is the trigger, right? You know, something that I expressed, if you are new here, I encourage you to go watch the channel trailer. There's some really important information in there, but like, when we are triggered, right, this collective understands, and if you are new here, welcome, you understand this now, what I'm about to tell you, that triggers are not meant to, you know, we're not meant to get upset about things that trigger us or respond in a way that is abrasive or bombastic to triggers, but rather we are meant to explore it and get curious about the trigger. Where did it come from? What do I need to know about this? Where is this stemming from? What are my thoughts around this thing? You know, like, and what kind of reaction did I have? What kind of emotions am I having? How did I react? You know what I mean? Like, you ask yourself a million questions about how you received the trigger and what you gave to the trigger as a reaction or as a response. And sometimes that does take courage, right? I mean, very often that does take courage, but what's at the bottom of the deck here is birth. birth. This is the way to, I mean, it's shadow work really, but this is the way to walking through what is obviously an already open portal for you, you know? Oh, I pulled two. Okay, so flow and shadow. Yeah, so like it's kind of like, so that has a few messages here. So flow and shadow for me is telling me that you have been in flow with your shadow, and spirit wants you to acknowledge that. What we're talking about here is shadow work. I don't know if I said that, but what we're talking about is shadow work. So you being in flow with your shadow makes it difficult to see, right? But there have been moments in your life where you haven't been in flow with your shadow, when you've been able to see it very well and you've been able to talk to it and kind of explore it and pick it apart, and you have had that courage, right? This is another moment for you to do that reflecting, and this is also not like, spirit wants you to know that there's no trouble here. Like, I feel like spirit is coming through with this very strong, like, hey, like, you need to tell them. Doing shadow work does not mean that you did anything wrong. Like, taking accountability is just something that we do. Like, normalize that for yourself. No one's standing over you with their finger pointing at you, you know? Like, nobody is like standing there like you did something. Nobody is scolding you. You are just very simply having a conversation with yourself about something that you would like to improve. When you take the conditioning of shame and guilt out of it, and like being in trouble, when you remove that, then shadow work becomes much more accessible. So spirit is really wanting to like hammer it that you did not do anything wrong. You did not do anything wrong, right? Your life experiences have taught you so many things, and a lot of those things have not been true. Right? So there's something here about kind of looking through new lenses and choosing the language that you use with yourself as a means of exercising this power, right? This sovereignty. You choose the lens that you view your life and your history and your path and your decision. You choose the lenses that you wear when you're viewing yourself and your everything, right? I'm trying to think if there's anything else here. I'm hearing it's time to cut this out. It's time to cut these folks out, like these people. Like, there's something that you've grown out of. I'm hearing it's very specific. Right? It's very specific. Spirit is wanting to highlight. Yeah, we've got death and the 10 of wands here. This is an ending. The 2 of stop. I hate seeing this card in readings like this. Like they really want you to stand on something that you know, like end the cycle for sure. And like, nobody can tell you what you know is the thing. Okay, the Lovers and the 7 of Swords. So you might have people around you trying to keep you in this place, and like the thing is, nobody can tell you what you know, and you know that something has to end. Like, you know that like you have to take this mentality that feels like higher, like it feels as if you're operating at a higher level, at a higher frequency than the people around you, but you are throttling yourself purposefully, like acclimating to lower frequencies. And those lower frequencies are like, keep trying to like stop you. Like, I'm hearing you've talked about this before. You've talked about moving up and out. You've talked about moving on. Like, you've talked about moving out of the place that you're currently living. You've talked about like leaving the relationship that you're currently in for some of you. You've talked about quitting your job, right? Whatever it is, like, you've been here and people have like advised, you know, otherwise or whatever. And spirit is saying like, they're lying. You are operating in a higher frequency. You're not tripping. You're not crazy. It is time to bring that knowledge into the 3D. And this guide wants to help you. And like, you don't necessarily have to like, you know, finish this video and then go like seek him out, right? But like, you do, what I would do, right? You want to just like open yourself up a little bit. And this honestly, like this reading could just be activating enough for you. Like that door might swing open after you listen to this, and then, changes might start happening. It becomes easier to make change. Sometimes you just need to listen to a priestess speak or a healer speak, and like hearing the frequency of a voice is incredibly activating, right? So, and I pray that does happen for you. I pray that the dominoes that need to fall will fall. I pray that, what is out of place will click into place, right? But it is, you are being asked to anchor these things into the 3D, that which you already know, right? Bringing it into the 3D. Like only you can do that. Okay. Spirit is asking me to stop this reading. I want to send you a lot of love. Please be sure to drop a like, subscribe, comment, share the video. These are all free ways to support a growing channel. I'm really happy to have you here, and I really hope that this was helpful. This was a very potent energy, and I think that you're a very magnetic person. I think that you are a force to be reckoned with, truly. But there are some things that need changing that only you can change, okay? You've faced a lot of adversity in your life, and God doesn't put people through that who aren't incredibly powerful, right? But you have to remember that power. You have to master that power. You have to master that cumbersome path that you've taken up until now. Okay, I love you. Please take care of yourself.